days from now, this series will be over. Before we get there, before the last episode, we need to talk about the future. About the question that almost everyone has been asked, and almost no one answers honestly the first time. Talking about your future in English is harder than it looks. Not because the vocabulary is difficult, but because it asks you to be two things at the same time. Honest about where you are, and hopeful about where you might go. Today, you will learn 10 phrases that help you do exactly that. Talk about goals, plans, dreams, and the spaces in between. Before we begin, I want to say something about today. You are at day 29. That means you have made a decision to listen, to show up, to keep going 29 times. Most people who start something like this do not reach day 29. They stop at day 5, or day 12, or day 20, when the novelty is gone and the habit isn't quite formed yet. You are here, one episode from the end. That is not nothing. That is almost everything. This is the promise this series made on day 1. 30 days of listening, one story at a time, from A1 to B1. Tomorrow is the last day. Today, let's go. It is Thursday. Sarah is at her desk by 8:30. A new project landed in her inbox on Wednesday evening, a brand identity for a small architecture firm in Dumbo. Clean lines, neutral palette, a founder who writes thoughtful emails, the kind of project she likes. She works for 90 minutes without looking up. Coffee goes cold. She doesn't notice. At 10 o'clock, there is a knock at the door. Priya is standing in the hallway with a canvas tote bag over one shoulder and her keys in her hand. She is heading to the market on Atlantic Avenue. She stops whenever Sarah's door is unlocked. Want anything? I'm okay, Sarah says. Come in for a minute. Priya drops the tote bag inside the door and takes a seat at the kitchen table. Sarah makes 2 cups of tea, the same way she always does, the kettle left on a bit too long, 2 mugs with mismatched patterns. I've been thinking about going back to Mumbai for a few months, Priya says. Maybe February. See my family. Maybe figure out if I still want to be here, you know? Sarah looks at her. Are you thinking about leaving? I don't know. That's why I need to go. Priya wraps both hands around the mug. I've been here 4 years. I love it, but I've never asked myself properly whether this is where I'm going. I've just been going. She looks at Sarah across the table. What about you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself? This is one of the most common questions about the future in English. It asks you to imagine yourself at a future point in time and describe what your life looks like. It is not asking for a perfect plan. It is asking you to think out loud. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I see myself doing the same kind of work, but with more freedom. It's a hard question. I'm not sure where I see myself yet. Sarah opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. Priya laughs, not unkindly. Take your time. I don't know, Sarah says finally. I'm still figuring out what I want. Figure out what you want. This phrase means to discover, through thinking or experience, what you actually need or desire. It suggests a process, not a sudden realization, but a gradual one. You figure something out by paying attention over time. She spent her 20s figuring out what she wanted from her career. Sometimes you have to try several things before you can figure out what you want. Priya finishes her tea, picks up the tote bag, and says she will be back in an hour. Sarah stands at the door for a moment after she leaves, looking at the empty hallway. Then she goes back inside. She sits at her desk. The architecture file is open. She cannot look at it. She picks up her sketchbook, puts on her shoes, and goes out. She walks south, through the neighborhood, past the coffee shop on the corner. past the hardware store that has been there since before she arrived. Park Slope on a Thursday morning is quiet in the way only residential streets can be. No performance, no noise, just people getting on with things. She walks and thinks, 5 years from now. She tries to picture herself. What does that look like? She is not sure about the geography. She is not sure about the scale, whether she wants more clients, bigger projects, a studio with other people in it, or exactly this, the desk, the apartment, the work she chooses herself. Picture yourself. To picture yourself means to form a mental image of who you might be or what your life might look like in the future. It is an act of imagination and also an act of honesty. What you can picture often tells you what you actually want. Try to picture yourself 10 years from now. What do you see? She couldn't picture herself in that role, and that told her something. Picture yourself in 5 years. Does the image feel right? She thinks about the job offer from Nina, the creative director role at the Flatiron agency she turned down in June. She still thinks that was right. But the question, where do you see yourself, makes her aware that she has been moving forward without a direction she can name. There is a difference between moving and working toward something. She has been moving. She would like, she thinks, to work toward something. Work toward something. This phrase means to make consistent, deliberate effort in the direction of a goal, to let your daily actions be shaped by something you are trying to reach. You do not just move forward. You move in a specific direction, on purpose. She has been working toward building a client list she believes in. He worked toward his goal for 3 years before it happened. Working toward something gives your daily choices a kind of meaning, a long-term plan. This is a plan that extends over months or years, not what you will do today, but what you are building over time. A long-term plan does not have to be rigid, but it gives you something to orient toward. She didn't have a long-term plan when she arrived in Brooklyn. She made one slowly, out of decisions. A long-term plan is not a fixed path. It is a direction. She walks until she reaches the park. Prospect Park, on a Thursday afternoon in June, is different from the weekend. Fewer families, fewer blankets on the grass, more people alone with their thoughts. Sarah walks along the path near the Boathouse, on the eastern side of the park where the lake reflects the trees, and finds a bench. She opens the sketchbook to a blank page. She does not draw. She writes. Not a business plan, not a list of goals with deadlines, just an honest inventory of what she actually wants, the kind you can only write when no one is going to read it. 5 years from now, Sarah Chen wants to have a client list she is proud of. She wants to have taken one more trip alone. She wants to have learned something new that is not design. And she wants to be a little less afraid of the big questions. She reads it back. It is not impressive. It does not have revenue targets or a 5-year growth strategy. But it is true. And truth, she has learned, is a better starting point than impressive. Set a goal. To set a goal means to decide on something specific you want to achieve and commit to working toward it. A goal is different from a wish. A wish is something you want without a plan. A goal is something you want and intend to move toward, one step at a time. She set a goal to finish the portfolio by October and kept it. Setting a goal does not mean you know exactly how to get there. It means you know where you are going. Small goals and large goals are both worth setting. She is not going to figure out 5 years in one afternoon on a bench in Prospect Park. She knows that. But she has just done something she has been avoiding for a while. She asked herself the question properly, and she wrote down something real. Take it one step at a time. This phrase means to approach something gradually, not to try to solve or achieve everything at once, but to move forward steadily, one action at a time. It is a reminder that large things are built from small things, done consistently. She didn't know how to start. Her mentor told her, take it one step at a time. You don't have to have everything figured out. Take it one step at a time. The only way through a difficult project is one step at a time. She closes the sketchbook. The lake is still. A heron stands at the far edge of the water, perfectly motionless. After a long moment, it lifts its wings and goes. She gets home at 4:30. The architecture file is still open on her laptop, exactly where she left it. She sits down, looks at it, and begins. The morning had felt stuck. The afternoon cleared something. Now her hands know what to do. She works until 7. Then she makes dinner. Pasta with the last of the tomatoes, the same ones she had bought planning to use days ago. She eats at the kitchen table, sketchbook on the surface beside her, closed. At some point, she picks up her phone and texts Priya. Thanks for the question today. I don't have an answer yet, but I'm thinking. Priya replies after a few minutes. That's the point. Sarah puts the phone face down on the table. She has not solved the question of 5 years, but she has made something. A small, honest thing on a page that did not exist this morning. That is its own kind of progress. Make progress. To make progress means to move closer to a goal, to advance in a positive direction. Progress is not always visible immediately. Sometimes it is internal, a shift in thinking, a question finally asked, a clarity that takes time to arrive but stays when it does. She felt like she wasn't making progress, but looking back, she had come far. Making progress does not always look like success from the outside. Move forward. This phrase means to continue, to keep going despite uncertainty, despite not having everything figured out. Moving forward is not the same as having a plan. It is the decision to keep going anyway, in the general direction of what matters to you. She didn't know exactly what came next, but she decided to move forward. Sometimes moving forward is the only thing you can control. End up. To end up somewhere means to eventually arrive at a place, situation, or outcome, often one you did not entirely plan. Where you end up is shaped by your choices, but also by chance, by the people around you, by the doors that opened and the ones that didn't. She didn't plan to stay in Brooklyn this long. She just ended up here, and it became home. He ended up in a career he never imagined for himself, and loved it. You don't always end up where you thought you were going. She opens the laptop. 1 more hour on the architecture brand. Then she will close it and go to sleep. The sketchbook sits on the table. She does not open it again. She already knows what it says. Today, Sarah worked on a new project, answered a knock at the door, had tea with her neighbor, walked south through Park Slope, wrote a list on a bench by the lake, and came home. She did not answer the question, but she stopped avoiding it, and that is its own kind of progress. Let's review today's vocabulary. Where do you see yourself? A question about your future life asked at a specific point in time. Figure out what you want. To discover through experience and attention what you actually need. Picture yourself. To form a mental image of who you might be in the future. Work towards something. To make deliberate, consistent effort in the direction of a goal. A long-term plan. A plan that extends over months or years, giving your actions a direction. Set a goal. To decide on something specific you want to achieve, and commit to it. Take it one step at a time. To move forward gradually, without trying to do everything at once. Make progress, to move closer to a goal, even when the movement is not immediately visible. Move forward, to keep going despite uncertainty, not because everything is clear. End up, to eventually arrive at a place or situation, planned or not. These 10 phrases are for the conversations no one is ever quite ready for, the ones about where you are going, what you are building, and who you want to become. Tomorrow is day 30, the last one. I will see you then.